Hey there, welcome back to the Jon Krawczynski Show. He's Jon Krawczynski. I'm Jim Souhan from Talk North. He's from The Athletic. I also write for the Star Tribune. This is our TalkNorth.com basketball show. Almost exclusively Timberwolves. Occasionally we get into other NBA topics, and today we might also talk about the Minnesota Lynx. Fascinating team in a fascinating circumstance in terms of new ownership, the CBA, how well the Lynx are playing, everything else going on with that franchise. Well, we do have Timberwolves issues to get to. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
Scott for Aquarius. Summer's all about fun, not flickering lights and faulty plumbing. From fixing that runaway toilet and not so hot water heater to installing generators for whole home backup power, Aquarius has your back. Right now, get $98 off any electrical or plumbing repair. Fast, friendly, and ready to rescue your summer from household chaos. Aquarius, local, trusted, family-owned, and earning the right to be recommended. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com.
Hi, everyone. This is Dawn Mitchell with a reminder. Please tune in to our podcast every week, Dawn of Sports. You can find it on Talk North Podcast Network.
Jon Krawczynski Show is also presented to you by Giggly.com, a great THC beverage that I've been enjoying, and Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. Tell you more about all of our sponsors later in the show. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Thank you for listening or watching. We do appreciate it. The show has been a big success, and a success because y'all tune in. We appreciate it. Let's get to Mike Conley showing up the 3M Open that I was at this weekend. My God, it was hot. Blaine, I didn't know Blaine was the same thing. I didn't know Blaine was that close to the equator, but it was hot. And Mike Conley, for all the assumptions that we make about the future, it's going to be Dillingham's team. Conley's going to be more of a mentor. Is there a possibility that Mike Conley ends up playing a big role with this team once again?
Well, there certainly is, Jim, because, when you look at what they've done, so we talked a lot about Rob Dillingham and about them wanting to give him more opportunities to play and to play well and to just get consistent run out there. And I do think ultimately that Dillingham is just really one of their very most important players going into next season. He has to find some sort of a role, whether it's, starting, which it seems a little bit unlikely, but at least being a real factor off of the bench, helping with playmaking, helping with shot creation. There's all of that. And, Mike Conley has certainly factored into the discussion, but understandably so. People are like, look, he's going to be, a year older, and maybe this might be the last year of his career. And how much does he have left in the tank to really kind of be a contributor for this team? And very much like a lot of the signs pointing to them being confident and Rob Dillingham being able to help them, it also points to confidence that Mike Conley is still going to be a factor for this team. I think, just by virtue, Jim, of seeing him out at the 3M Open, of playing some golf out there. He talked with Jace Frederick while he was out there about how he's feeling this summer and how much healthier he is. Those are all good signs, because at this time last year, he couldn't pick up a golf club. He was not able to do anything really basketball-wise in the offseason either because of his wrist injury. And it was kind of at a point where he needed to let it just calm down. And, he's said before that he's probably going to need surgery when his career is over to really kind of address the situation. But it would be a long enough recovery that he didn't want to do that during his playing career. And so, him being out there, him being able to just be active, to play, to do things, I think at least gives him the chance to hit the ground running next season much better than he did at the start of last season. He was not ready physically, and he was not good for much of the first month and a half of the season while he was trying to kind of figure out ways to work with that wrist and get it loosened up and back to going. We saw plenty of times last season where he was incredibly important to their success, where he would dig deep and find a way to make an impact in a game, even at his age and even with some of the limitations that he was working with. But I do think that, yes, Mike Conley is going to be part of the rotation, he's going to be leaned on heavily for leadership, all of those things. And seeing him at least being out there and being active and having fun and doing things this summer as that, an encouraging sign going into next season.
Yes. I've spent a lot of time writing about Byron Buxton over the years. And, people ask, well, how could he be so healthy after all these injury problems? Well, the key was entering an off-season healthy. Mm-hmm. He entered the off-season healthy. That allowed him to get rest that was rest, not rehabilitation time. It allowed him to then start up baseball activities on his own schedule. It allowed him to work hard in the winter. It allowed him to show up at spring training ready to do whatever they wanted him to do. And it allowed him to enter the regular season with them saying, well, he's just a regular player. We'll just play him like we play anybody else. It took him being healthy in September for him to have a good season the following season. So, it sounds very logical to me that Conley if Conley's feeling better now, he could play better next year.
Yeah, it's a great point and a great connection, because the other thing, it wasn't just the wrist last summer, Jim. Remember in the playoffs, he was dealing with an ankle / Achilles / calf kind of situation that severely limited him in the Dallas series in that loss to the Mavericks. And so, he was banged up with the wrist. That is kind of becoming a bit of a chronic situation. And he also had his leg stuff that was holding him back as well. So literally he was kind of immobile for a good stretch of the summer and not being able to. And at this stage of his career and of his life, I mean, you and I remember Jim Thome being in Twins with the Twins, and like all of the work that he had to put into his body to get it ready every single day. And I don't think Conley isn't that at that level in terms of the maintenance, but when you have an older body, you do just have to constantly be maintaining it in a way that Anthony Edwards didn't have to earlier in his career. And so just being able to do that from start to finish this summer, he told a story to Jace about, 2 days after the playoffs were over, he was in the gym working out at 7 a.m. And that just shows that, he's both determined, but also physically feeling up to getting himself ready to go and doing what he needs to do to stay ready. So, we'll see. I do expect him to have a reduced role in some ways in next year, whether that be coming off the bench or whether that be just more limited minutes, not playing as much in back-to-backs. A lot of things designed for him to be ready to go and fully healthy for the playoffs. But still, I think that it's hard to really put a price tag on Mike Conley for what he means on all sorts of levels for this team. And they're going to do everything they can to keep him ready to go and keep him contributing and keep him helping them out, because there were so many times last season where it wasn't going well, and then it was Mike Conley that came in and did something to bail them out. And so they're going to probably look for more of that next season as well.
A lot of decisions get forced on teams either because of player failure or player injury. If Dillingham and Conley are both healthy and playing well, how do you think they parse the roles and the minutes?
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating thing to watch. I don't know, frankly. My guess would be that Chris Finch is going to lean more toward Conley, but that the organization in general wants to see Dillingham get those opportunities to play. I also think that, there's a world where Dillingham just gives this team a little bit more of what they need, at least during the regular season. Mike Conley, we know who he is at this point, and we know how important, how valuable he is. He runs the show. He organizes the offense. He gets people involved. He makes sure that Rudy gets some touches. There's all of those things that are involved in the way that he goes about it. One thing that we have seen, though, is that in bigger spots last year against really difficult defenses, it was harder for Conley to be really effective as a scorer and kind of make the defenses pay for loading up on Ant, for, kind of just really packing the paint and doing those things. His floater and his kind of little, kind of in between game was not what it usually is. And so that made it harder for him to punish defenses when lanes opened for him. And so if Dillingham is going to force his way onto the floor, and if he is going to kind of get a leg up on Conley, I do think it's going to be because the Wolves decide, what we need out of that spot and out of those minutes is someone who can come in and put pressure on a defense with his scoring, with his creativity that way. And Dillingham is ready to be efficient and do that. I think that's the pathway for Rob Dillingham getting more consistent minutes. We'll see if he's up to that. We'll see if he is able to do that. And, but I still, even if that does happen, I still think there's going to be plenty of times next season where we say, well, they were in a tough spot, and look at what Mike Conley did to come in and steady the water, steady the ship and get them what they needed to get done.
Ahead in the show, we're going to check in on Donte DiVincenzo. We're going to offer congratulations and thanks to a couple of our colleagues who are retiring. We'll talk a little bit about the Lynx. We'll get into some front office changes, some key people moving on to other franchises, and we'll have a Twitter question from Shepherd Goods Lamb Chops clothing line. Right now, I want to tell you about Giggly THC beverages. I have them much more than when I started drinking them. I thought these are good. There'll be nights I'll want something like this. I'm really kind of shocked how often I have them because there's no risk. There's no cost. They taste great. They're relaxing. They help me sleep. And then I wake up the next day feeling really good. You can't say that about everything you want to have that tastes good at night. And they're healthy. They're low sugar. They're made of fruit juice. They have ashwagandha. They have ginseng. It's as healthy a good time as you can have. And I like the taste from the beginning, and the more I drink them, the more I like them. So I really highly recommend checking out Giggly, G-I-G-L-I. It's Gigli.com is the website. They're in quick trips across Minnesota. You can find them a lot of other places as well. The easiest thing is go to Gigli.com, use promo code GIGLY-NORTH, G-I-G-L-I North, to get your first discount. After that, you'll be able to find other discounts. Giggly's all over the place with their social media marketing. You'll be able to find other discount codes. Highly recommend it. Fits perfectly into my life. It's really been a great find for me, and I think you'll enjoy it as well. Now we want to hear more about Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
That's right, Jim. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west side or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
So what's up with Donte DiVincenzo these days?
Yeah, so he was going to play with Italy in international play this August, September. And, he was really excited about it, about kind of tapping into his Italian roots and playing for the national team and doing it in an international competition. But then just today, we're recording this on Wednesday morning, he made the announcement that he was not going to be able to play this late summer, fall because of a health issue that he is dealing with. We don't know exactly what that is yet. I've got some calls out and trying to check in and get a little more clarity on what is happening there. But he's disappointed about not being able to play. He did say that he is going to continue to be involved with the Italian national team and, perhaps setting up some sort of participation in future international competition, including the Olympics. But for right now, he is not going to be able to play this time around because of something that has recently surfaced. And we have to get a little more clarification on that. But it's a bummer for him. I don't have any indication right now that it is something that is going to get in the way of the season of anything that way, but it's certainly something to monitor, because we've talked a lot about point guard. We've talked a lot about a lot of their rotation, but DiVincenzo is going to be a very important part of this season coming up for the Timberwolves. And so anything that sets him back in his preparation or certainly in his readiness is something to be concerned about. So I'll continue to make efforts to check in on that. I don't think it's anything major, but it's just enough, it sounds like, to keep him out of the international play, which is unfortunate.
So last year, right when it felt like he had figured it out how to play with this team, he had hit his stride. I thought he played great against the first couple of playoff series, and he just didn't play all that well against Oklahoma City. So it was a very much an up and down season for him. Given that, what are your expectations for him next year? Yeah,
I really expect him to have a much better season. I think that, he talked about it last season. But I do think that the nature of the trade happening so close to training camp and so close to the start of the season, I think it really did throw him off in a major way when he came here. I think he was planned, fully ready and prepared to play for the Knicks and play a big role with the Knicks and coming off of a big playoff run with New York. And then to have this all kind of thrown up in the air at the last minute unexpectedly, it really did sort of send a shock through his system. He had to move his fiance and his young child, with him. And I think all of that was really hectic. And so you add into it something that you and I have discussed a lot is, when new players come to the Timberwolves the last couple of years, it does take a while to figure out how to play with Rudy Gobert and what that looks like and where the pressure points are and all of that. And so you kind of put into context that he moved here late and the Wolves have this unique player that does require an onboarding period that they did not have. And it just did not look like Donte DiVincenzo was comfortable or, effective here for a long time. And then, so flash forward, and I think a lot of people have sort of forgotten when he really did start to find his way. And it was at the start of January, and Chris Finch, when things were just not going well for the team, Chris Finch kind of reluctantly or begrudgingly put Donte DiVincenzo in the starting lineup over Mike Conley. And it's something that fans had been clamoring for. Finch did not believe that was the root of their issues, but he just did it to try and kind of see if a different look helped them. And what we saw was it pretty much did. I mean, it helped DiVincenzo. It helped the team. They went 4-2 in the stretch of 6 games that he started. He had, DiVincenzo had 27, 10 rebounds and 7 assists against the Grizzlies. He had 28 and 9 assists against the Warriors. Like, he was playing well, and that team was figuring things out from an offensive and defensive standpoint. And then he got hurt. Then he hurt his toe and missed a bunch of time, and comes back and plays off of the bench the rest of the way. But I do think it is set up. Like, I would guess, if I had to guess right now, Jim, assuming Donte DiVincenzo is healthy, it would seem to make sense to me that he would be the starter alongside Anthony Edwards on opening night. And I do think that a year of comfort here and familiarity will help him. I do think that if he has that role, I think that would help him as just a mindset and certainly like looking at this as a team that is really relying on him, and he has a big role, and that means something. And that those things are mentally helpful for a player like DiVincenzo. And so I could see all of that coming together and him playing much closer to what we all expected to see when he was traded here than we saw for long stretches of last season. So I think DiVincenzo is going to have a big year coming up, and I think he's going to play really well. And I think that's going to be a very big help both offensively and defensively, to what the Timberwolves are doing.
I remember talking to him the night that they closed out the Warriors at home, and he told me, yeah, he did play well before it, but he said after his injury that he did exactly what everybody talked about Julius Randle doing, which is spent his injury time really watching how that group, without him and Randle, how that group played together. And he said he learned so much during that time. So I would imagine that having been through the playoffs, having had an offseason, having had a full training camp where he knows what he's getting into, where he's not dealing with any upheaval, I would expect an uptick.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and, he heard through especially the early part of last season, there was a lot of chatter. Well, he's not happy here. He doesn't want to be here. And he heard all of that, and he knew all of that. And he was very, I think, intentional in our conversations about saying that this is just really down to basketball fit, that this is sometimes this does take time, and it doesn't just gel immediately like you'd hope for, and you'd want it to. And so I do think that really was what it was, is he was trying to find a role of like, where exactly do I fit in? How does Rudy like the ball when I throw it to him? How can I play off of Rudy offensively and defensively? And I think then, how do I support this force of nature in Anthony Edwards as, just as a role player sidekick? And so those things, for some players, click into place really quickly. For others, they don't. And I would say in general, what we have seen from the Timberwolves in the Rudy Gobert era is that it does take everyone just a little bit longer to do it. And eventually it did click in, and he did have moments where he was playing really well. The team certainly finished the season incredibly strong before the OKC playoffs or series. And so it's all there, and it's all, we have seen it work, both on paper and on the screen, or, in reality as well. But I just think that there's going to be a much bigger focus on consistency this season. And I think it's going to be much more attainable to be consistent when there's just familiarity and there's comfort level and there's all of those things. Nikhil is not here anymore, but there's everyone else who is going to play a role from 1 through 9 or 10 on this roster was here last year. Everyone knows each other. Like, there is just a much, I think, stronger sense of self with this team now. And so I think that if you want to be optimistic about what the Timberwolves are doing and what Donte DiVincenzo is going to do, you just have to look at that. And it's not even a grasping for straws, but I think that's a real factor for next season.
Yes. Hey, we want to thank TSR Injury Law, our longest running sponsor, the people we know, that I know the best of all of our sponsors. Steve Terry, you've seen the ads, you've seen them hanging out with Naz Reid. We're just thrilled that their business has grown so much, but it's grown because they win cases for their clients. That's what it comes down to. They treat their clients well. They don't charge them unless they win their case. They win a lot of cases. That's how they've gone from, what a long time ago was a fairly small business to being a big, booming business with new offices and all these billboards everywhere. They're a great Minnesota business success story because they help people. So if you're ever hurt, just remember, you're going to want to call 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. I also want to thank Royal Credit Union.
It's time for change. Experience better banking and put your financial goals in motion with Royal Credit Union. It's time to get more from your checking account, upgrade your vehicle, or finally build your dream home. Royal offers the financial solutions you need and the advice you can trust to plan for what's next. Better banking is one change away. It's time to switch to Royal Credit Union. Get started at rcu.org/time. Insured by NCUA. Loan subject to credit approval. Equal housing opportunity.
All right, let's get to a couple of offbeat topics here. First of all, we're talking here on Wednesday morning. On Wednesday night, the Lynx, who were dominating the WNBA this year, have been dominating for a calendar year, almost won the WNBA championship last year and are the class of the league this year. They're playing the New York Liberty, who beat them last year. Let's go really big picture here. WNBA players are trying to cut a new collective bargaining agreement. They're making very large asks. And the league is growing. The league is becoming is drawing more revenues, has better TV deals, seems to have the brightest future it ever has. How do you think the NBA owners are viewing the WNBA at this moment? Are they looking at it as something that, a growth stock? Are they there? What's your view of that whole scene?
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly just point to the discussions we had with Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry in Las Vegas in their kind of unveiling press conference and subsequent availabilities, after taking control of the Wolves and Lynx. And, Alex particularly was very vocal about viewing the Lynx as a growth stock, like viewing this investment in the WNBA as a moneymaker and as a lucrative one now, with where the game is at, with the stars that they have available, with some of the TV deals and things that are coming in the coming years here. It's no question that for the almost entirety of its existence prior to the last year or two, the WNBA was, kind of a financial loser for the NBA. And that is just the reality of the situation. I don't know that you could realistically expect the WNBA in 15 or 20 years to become a money-making, juggernaut. The NBA certainly didn't do it that way. And it took a long time for the NBA to really establish itself. And that's what advocates for the WNBA would tell you, is that, look, we just need time and investment and resources, and it will all start to pay off. But certainly now in going forward with Caitlin Clark, with the kind of the franchise valuations, with the TV deal, I mean, the money that is available is at a level that has never been seen before in the WNBA. And it is, I think, becoming a case where some of, if not most of the teams can be profitable and can actually contribute to the bottom line of NBA franchises that own them, or even the independent ones that own teams.
Yeah, I think they've got to be a growth stock. And what's going to be really interesting is, of course, the players want to be paid. There's I think a Nobel Prize economic expert out there who basically said that Nafisa College should probably be making about $12-15 million right now. I don't know if the WNBA can survive that level of salaries, but that's what the WNBA players are pushing for. I hope, as someone who really likes that league and loves good basketball in general, I hope they can find some middle ground where the players feel valued, where they're making really good money as international superstars, but they don't push it to a point that it damages the WNBA growth.
Yeah, I mean, this is I think just a critical fork in the road moment for the league, because I would anticipate, as you normally would, that the owners are going to try to break the union in their own way, as they do with every labor dispute in any sport. They are going to try and do things to make the most money for themselves and keep them in the most advantageous situation. But at the same time, the players clearly, no question, deserve substantial raises and substantial increases in the revenue sharing and all of the things that they're looking for here. Now, how it all plays out is going to be really interesting, because the owners can really say realistically, look, for the last 25 years, 30 years, we've, essentially subsidized you with the NBA teams, and so we've lost a lot of money, and so we're not excited about just immediately kind of changing course and doing that. We need to kind of make up for some of that stuff. But the players now, with Nafisa Collier's league that is happening with Europe, they have more ability to make up whatever financial losses might happen to them from a labor stoppage than your normal athlete does in these situations. And so there is I think, a real motivation on the players' part to make sure to get this right now and kind of to get it going. And they look at the valuations of teams and how they've absolutely skyrocketed. And they look at the Golden State franchise and what's happening out there and like how this league is going to be expanding and that there's just going to be more and more money coming in. And they do not want to give any ground right now either. So I think this has the potential to be a nasty fight. Cause, and because a lot of times the owners really rely on players just not being able to, kind of that they live paycheck to paycheck too much and they just cannot lose paychecks. Unfortunately for the WNBA players right now, and maybe fortunately for them, the paychecks that they are getting are not big enough to be life-changing money. And so they can position themselves to get to a level where these paychecks start to be a little bit more life-changing. And so maybe they have a little bit more, wherewithal to get into the gutter and just fight for a longer period of time. So we'll see how all that plays out. But the dynamics of this labor dispute, I think, are unique to many that we have seen before it, and how it all plays out. It's going to be really interesting to watch it.
Yes. We have some thank yous and some news developments that hit pretty close to home we're going to want to talk about here in a second. First, though, tell us about True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. Go to truevision.com to set up your consultation. And when you go to True Vision, you're going to be treated unbelievably well. You're going to feel like you are a member of their family and that they're taking care of you from the start of your vision correction journey to the end of it. And you are going to open up a world of hassle-free that is, so important. Like for me, it's just been such a relief to not have to go to a yearly eye exam, to not have to keep putting money into contacts and eyeglasses, to not have to be keeping up with the latest styles and all of those things. I just have LASIK surgery. I can see great. And my life is just easier and more hassle-free because of it. And so I think we're all looking for ways to make life easier on ourselves. And one of the easiest, biggest ways to do that is to go to True Vision, truevision.com, and get yourself set up there so that you do not have to worry about all those hassles with contacts and eyeglasses anymore. True Vision, truevision.com.
Let's also hear about Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing Line. We'll also have a Twitter question from Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing Line at the end of the show. SGLambchops.com is the place to go. Promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything you get at Lamb Chops Clothing. They have hoodies, they have t-shirts, they have sweaters, they have pants, they have shorts. I'm wearing a pair of their shorts right now. I'll be honest, this is a true story. Last night was wearing these lamb chop shorts. They're black. They have a big, bright green lamb chops on it. My 12-year-old son said, "Hey, I really like those shorts." And so the ability for an old man to connect style-wise with the youngsters is few and far between. And the Lamb Chops Clothing did that for me with these shorts, which are also the most comfortable shorts that I wear. All the Lamb Chop stuff is super high quality. You can put it on and you know that you look good, but you also know that you can wear it forever. So go to sglambchops.com and use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything you get at Lamb Chops. Let's start with the world of basketball. Ethan Casson looks like he's going to be president of the Dallas Mavericks. Ryan Tanke ends up being, I think, COO. I'm bad with all the acronyms of the Houston Rockets. Interesting, they both end up in Texas. I thought they did a very good job growing this business, professionalizing that organization. Glad to see them land on their feet.
Yeah, well, here's what you can say about both of them. They were prominent figures in the organization for a very, very long time. And it was always always Ethan and Ryan. Like they're very close friends, and they led the business side of the operations. And they are both guys who started at the bottom of the organization as sales representatives. There's a famous story that they tell about going to the 2004, paying their own way to the 2004 Western Conference Finals in LA, flips Anders, sees them after game 3 and says, no, you're staying for game 4. And so like those kinds of, cute stories are many with those two, but they both worked their way up. Tanky, all the way up to COO. Ethan left for a little while and was with the San Francisco 49ers, then came back as CEO of this franchise. And they loved working for the Timberwolves. Like they really did pour their hearts and souls into it. It was really important to them. And they were, they really were invested in trying to make the Timberwolves a viable brand in the NBA. They were also incredibly close with Glenn Taylor. Like they were Glenn Taylor's confidants. And so when the dispute happened with Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry, there was certainly a line in the sand that was drawn there. And they were on the Taylor side of the fight, and Mark and Alex were on their side of the fight. And so you knew that whenever this shook out, someone was going to go. And so if Lowry and Rodriguez won, it was going to be Ethan and Ryan and Glenn. They were all going to be going. And if the other side won, it was going to be Mark and Alex going. So they were certainly caught up, the two of them, in this very bitter, very long struggle for control of the Wolves and Lynx. And I think throughout that process, it did get to be where trust was lost between the two sides, where I think that there was, it was definitely like, go to your corners, it's you against us type of a thing. And so it got to a point where once Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry prevailed in the arbitration, the writing was on the wall. You knew that those two were going to have to go find something else. They both have landed on their feet in a major way. I mean, Ethan with the Dallas Mavericks working under Rick Welts, right there. Ryan Tanky with the Rockets, another well thought of franchise. Very, it was a very soft landing for both of them. And now Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry are going through the process of sort of reshaping the business side of these, of the Wolves and Lynx. And there is not going to be a whole lot of change with the basketball side of things. It's Cheryl Reeves staying where she's at, Tim Connolly, Chris Finch, all of that. But they are going to make some significant changes on the business side to kind of try and create revenues that they believe were kind of missed out on, to try and, look at things in a different way. And so, that process is ongoing right now as they try to look for replacements for two guys who were in those spots for a very long time and were kind of we're certainly the faces of the franchise from a business standpoint. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah. David Fema, the famous chef who had the place downtown, that kind of a post-game Timberwolves hangout. He has a new place coming up in Excelsior. Great guy. He told me that he remembers buying buying Ethan Casson drinks after games because he knew Ethan could not afford it back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, they really did. They came up. Yeah, I mean, they did come up from the very bottom of the ladder, and they did hustle. They hustled their way all the way to the top. And so I think they are appreciative and proud of their time here. I think that they also knew that it was kind of they were taking a big swing in terms of how there couldn't have been higher stakes for the arbitration process for them than, the way that it went down. And so they were with Glenn, and they thought that it was going to work out one way. It didn't. And now they move on. But they were definitely, there's plenty of people over there that still came in on the ground floor and worked their way up and are part of sort of the story of this franchise. And those two are certainly, prominent figures in that journey.
We also want to say congratulations Jerry Zgoda covered the Timberwolves for a long time for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Saw him out at the 3M, not only to see him out at the 3M tournament in beautiful Blaine over the weekend, but also saw Kent Youngblood, who has been our main Lynx reporter for many years. They were both really tied into the basketball community, worked very hard, very long. I've been at the paper 35 years. Jerry preceded me. Kent came in a few years after me. I've worked with those people for a long time. They both took the buyout. And I'm at my age, I look around and I'm just very happy anytime anybody can get out of the business on their own terms, healthy and, with a chance to have some fun.
For sure. I mean, and both of those guys were like, when you think about, our jobs and the long days and, the travel and all those things. Yeah. And you really just hope that when you're in those situations that the people around you in the press corps are good people that you enjoy being around. And both of those guys are great people. Like, they made it easier for me as a basketball kind of writer centric to be around them and just let's just do the job. Like, let's not have petty ego wars or things like that. It never was like that with either one of them. When I was really young, before while I was in college, I did a little bit of part-time stuff for the AP and did more Viking stuff for the Fargo newspaper. And Kent was on the beat for the Vikings at that point, and he was just kind to a 21-year-old kid who had zero idea what he was doing, and like he could have been, like the ornery old guy and made it hard and all that stuff. And he just never did. He was very helpful and very chatty and very welcoming. And then Jerry was just, as I moved back here in 2005 and started on the Wolves beat, like in earnest, I mean, Jerry was there and just like just a super fun guy to be around. What I'll give Jerry is like, he was almost like an original TikToker, because you guys had at your paper at one point like a sort of initiative to do these short little video updates that you would post on the webpage, and you would do those things. And so Jerry would do these from outside of the Timberwolves training camp or whatever, and he'd do it, on his laptop or something like that, and make it happen. And then the legendary one was one time he did it from his bathtub with a bubble bath and a rubber ducky that was glowing that floated behind him, and it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. But like, that kind of like, I don't know, sense of humor and that, irreverence that he approached with, I'll just always appreciate and always laugh and always have a great time. And we, when I was leaving for the Athletic, he was very helpful in like talking through things and stuff. It just like, just a world-class dude. And you always had, fun and laughter when he was around. And so, both guys will be missed a lot and, and certainly have earned being able to hopefully go out in a way that they feel good about and with some dignity and hopefully, with health and everything going forward for them.
Yeah. Congratulations, both of them. I appreciate all the years working together with them. Great teammates to have. Hope we still see them around too, as well. I think there are ways for that to happen as well. They just won't be required to be around all the time. Let's get to our Twitter question of the day.
Yeah, good one from Joshua Stamper here. With the off-season videos of Gobert working on his outside shot and floaters, do you think he will actually use this to be a part of his game in this upcoming season? And if he does, how will it impact the Wolves season? I'm sure many Wolves fans have seen that Gobert's been getting some work with the online shooting guru, Lethal Shooter. And so he's knocking down shots, hitting some threes, doing some floaters and things like that. One thing I will tell people is that if you watch Rudy in practice, like almost any NBA player, when they are shooting 1-on-0, and against no one, like they can make shots from anywhere. Ricky Rubio almost never missed from three when I watched him in practice. It's just like this is what these guys are capable of doing in those settings. It is one thing to do it, in these workouts. It is another thing entirely to do it in a game with defense, with fatigue, with all of those things settling in. That said, I would say that this sort of workout that we are seeing from Rudy is more intentional than I'd ever seen him in the past, in terms of it does look like he's doing it with the idea that eventually he will take an 18-footer in a game. He will, get to the floater a little bit more in a game. Threes, that'd be a shocker. But if he does make improvement on that front, I do think that the Wolves would give him an opportunity to at least try it a little bit and see if there is something there, because it would help him immeasurably by being able to even have something that even approaches a threat from a shot standpoint. And so I'm not going to say that we're going to see him turn into even like a DeAndre Ayton or somebody like that, but I would not be surprised if, especially in the preseason, you see him try and let a few go and just see how it looks. He does want to expand his game. And it's just a matter of, is that responsible? And is that feasible at this point of his career? I don't know yet, but I do think that the work he's doing is not just for show, that he does want to see if this is possible for him going forward.
My dog's screaming in the background. That's probably a sign that we have gone too long here. Hey, thanks to everyone. Congratulations to Jerry. Congratulations to Kent. I'll also say this. If Rudy catches the ball 20% better and has the threat of making a 5-foot shot when they lay off of him, that would make a huge difference.
No question. It absolutely would. I mean, he is so one-dimensional from a scoring standpoint that, yes, I mean, it would be an enormous help to what the Wolves are doing. So is it doable? Is it feasible? I don't know yet, but the simple fact that A, he's working on it, and B, he is not playing internationally with Team France this summer,
which I love.
I think those are both very good things for Rudy Gobert and very good things for the Timberwolves. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Congratulations to Jerry. Congratulations to Kent. Congratulations to Ethan and Ryan. Thanks to everyone who listens or watches. Thanks to all of our sponsors for making this all possible. This is TalkNorth.com. We'll talk to you soon.